Hi, so we'll be using this opportunity to talk about course navigation and why course navigation is such an important part of a successful DE class here in Canvas. It's one of the most powerful ways to make a positive impact in student learning, really from the very first day of that class all the way through the final exam and the class ending. Course navigation represents the architecture of your class, really the scaffolding that holds everything else up and gives you legitimacy as a DE instructor. One way to think about this scaffolding is before you prepare a class, and we have some other videos you can enjoy on this topic, we really want to think about what is everything that we need to offer to our students. The first place to start is your Title V outline of record, available from your department chair, available from your dean through our eLumen system. That is the state requirement of our curriculum passed through the Chancellor's Office in Sacramento that says we're teaching various topics in that class. So you really want to start there first. But as you create your architecture, we realize that you won't cover everything on the Title V outline. You'll cover the major areas, the main headings, but you're going to mix and match some things. What I like to do if I'm setting up training, if I'm setting up like this website or Canvas shelf for your experience, I like to lay everything out such that I know where things are. This is through a program called OmniGraffle. If I have core areas, I can branch things off, and I can really look at visually the representation of the parts as they relate to the whole. This is akin to if you're developing a building and you lay out the plans, you want to know everything ranging from the electrical system to the easements, all the issues related to elevation on the particular site that you're building the building and everything else that goes into creating that. So it really is that background that you set up to say, okay, here's what we're covering, and then how the parts relate to one another, how you're covering that throughout the entirety of your DE class. We strongly advise against an approach, by the way, in which you offer students a bunch of random pages in Canvas. If you go to the Pages feature in Canvas, it's not really set up with any rhyme or reason. I believe it's actually alphabetical. So, or it might be based on the date of creation. It just gives you all these pages on a big long list. Well, there's an order to things. If I want people to progress, just like if they're going through a museum and I want them to have an experience of an educational sort, if they don't get that front end stuff in the first exhibit in the museum, and they get the third or fourth room that I'm trying to get them to see, that whole experience, the story is going to unfold in a really uneven manner, a very choppy manner. So I want to think about the relationships of one bit of content to the next. Thus, instead of using pages, you might want to disable it and use your pages, but put them inside the modules. And we'll talk about how that makes sense in the actual modules block. Because without having the modules, you don't have any sense of meaningful sequence, direction, or even prerequisite. So just a bunch of pages is really random content and doesn't suggest to us good course navigation. Using modules, and please watch our additional content on modules, you can really direct the pace of the learning, you can set up prerequisites, you can set up the timing of things, when things become live and when they become gray or unavailable to students to view, and you can also front load certain things that are important in your class. For example, a getting started section, a policy section, and so forth. It's really about you setting your foundation, your architecture of the class, and then thinking about the pacing and the sequencing and the order of the content as the students experience it in your class. So a tip here is to utilize, as we're saying, the modules feature as a way to establish effective course organization and navigation. If it's not clear, be sure to establish the ways in which the students should navigate the class. Generally, modules allow you to do this, but if you set up modules in a random way, if you had week 1 material at the bottom and somehow the date wasn't right, then obviously that would be confusing to students. Modules are pretty intuitive to work with. If you have troubles, talk to me, talk to Trevor Thomas, our DE coordinator. We can help you through that. Another tip is be sure to include a getting started or similar section on the main Canvas page. It's important to state to your students how they should go about starting your class. If the students go to your front page and all they see is a syllabus, that's probably not going to work. That is not an effective way to start a class. You really need to stay from day one. Here's how you get started, and then as the students work through your class, it becomes more familiar and routine to them as you go about, the subsequent weeks of the class. So at this point, you can continue to your next block.